What up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican. Second video today. Hey, I just posted a video about called a sad vindication of Islam. And let me first and foremost say Islam doesn't need any vindication, but you understand the context that I'm using. Secondly, a follower and a viewer, a guy I know, off of YouTube. We chat sometimes in this group that we're in. We won't go into details. His name is Hazem Al-Yousefi, and you can find his comment in the comment sections. He knows a lot about Islam. I won't go into his story. I'll let him tell his story. You can check him out on YouTube. He's on Twitter, whatnot. And but anyway, he knows a lot about Islam. But what I wanted to do, I responded to his video, but I wanted to make a video response using the answer that I provided him in the comment section. And I wanted to take advantage of the moment to teach some of the non-Muslims about Islam, teach the Muslims and the non-Muslims about the Salafi stance of Islam, because that's a scary Salafi word. I am a Salafi, although a lot of Salafis might disagree because I'm quite eccentric with my videos and my behavior. They'll say, dude, you ain't Salafi. So even if they throw me off the Salafi manhaj means methodology, or the method that you practice Islam, then nonetheless I have a proclivity towards it, and I promote it, and I think it's the proper way to be, even if the guys want to throw me off of it, because sometimes we do have guys that just throw you off. Anyway, I don't like speaking about matters of Islam in detail because this is something that requires knowledge. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a student of knowledge. I'm none of those things. And so I'm not really qualified to speak on those topics. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from a website. You can go there yourself. It's called salafitalk.net. And I'm going to read from there. So, let's just get right into it. Okay, so Yusuf said in regard to my video, he said, but you still have the argument of them doing said bad actions upon Muslims, with the reasoning being the victims are endangering or abusing the name of Islam by being, according to ISIS clerics, not the right type of Muslim. Then it's crossed out here, I don't know why, but it says meaning the Muslims are victims who are from the minority group of Islam, for example. Thus, doing all these acts with the goal of protecting Islam. Now the fact of it keeping on happening during Ramadan, I need to check on, because I think there's some info to be found regarding war status during Ramadan. So there might be some sort of rulings that are used by ISIS, since obviously they consider themselves in a state of war, then excuse their gruesome crimes even at times such as Ramadan. What do you think? So I responded, and this is what I'm going to go into detail in, because I just kept it general, but I'm going to go into detail using salafitalk.net. Well, let's speak hypothetically here, and this is hypothetical. Let's say hypothetically their state of war was Islamically accepted and valid. It's not. How do they justify jihad against Muslims at all? I haven't read any fatwa allowing jihad against Muslims. Ended a hypothetical question. Now, what is happening here is the aqidah, the creed, and we're going to go into that, they follow is distorted. They have added a fourth category to the principles of Tawheed, Tawheed al-Hakimiyya. And Tawheed al-Hakimiyya is like the rulership. We're going to go into the details so people understand what I'm talking about here in case you read the comments. They use this as a springboard to make takfir, meaning they rule Muslims, non-Muslims, on all Muslims, making their blood halal, making the blood permissible for them. In this way, they have effectively ruled everyone but themselves as kuffar, non-Muslims, disbelievers. Ruled that they're in jihad against the non-Muslims and hence allowed to kill any and everyone they choose. These guys are literally a death cult, and it is true. ISIS, Daesh, Al-Qaeda, all these Islamic groups that are well known for their terrorist attacks, they are a death cult. They're beyond Muslims. So let's go into what I was talking about with Tawheed. Now, basically, Tawheed is, there's three categories to Tawheed. Rububiyyah, which is the lordship of Allah. Uluhiyyah, the worship of Allah. And Asma wa Sifat, the names and attributes of Allah. Now, going into detail, and we're going to come how the fourth category fits in here. Non-Muslims, I think you should know this, because it's difficult for Muslims to tell the difference between these nut jobs. So you guys should know. Everybody should know. But for the Muslims, this is going to give you some detail also. I'm not a scholar. I'm just reading from this right here from salafitalk.net. So don't throw me under a bus. As for Tawheed or Rububiyyah, lordship, it is to believe that Allah the Most High is the creator of everything and the dispenser of affairs of everything, and He has no partners besides Him in that. As for Tawheed Uluhiyyah, which is the worship of Allah, then it's to believe that Allah the Most High is the one who is worshipped in truth, and He has no partners besides Him in that. And this is the meaning of La ilaha illallah, and the meaning of there is no deity worthy of worship in truth except Allah. So all acts of worship, from the prayer, fasting, and other than them, they must be done sincerely for Allah alone, and it is not permissible to associate anything from these acts of worship with anyone other than Allah. And then for the third category, Asma wa Sifat, the names and attributes. They need to believe in everything that has been revealed in the Noble Quran and the authentic Hadith from the names of Allah and His attributes, and affirming them for Allah alone at the level that is befitting for the Most High, without perverting the text, without denying the meanings, without seeking after the specific details, and without likening Allah to His creation. So, now, this has been widely accepted by the vast majority of all scholars since the time of the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The three categories of Tawheed. Now, what these groups have done is they've added a fourth category, Tawheed al-Hakimiyya, which is the rulership of Allah. And they say that anyone who doesn't rule or who doesn't follow the rulings of Allah, they become a disbeliever. So that means if you commit a major sin or a minor sin, you're a disbeliever, which we know is incorrect. Because the only thing that removes you from Islam is the practice of magic, black magic as the people would like to call it, or shirk, which is to worship or send any form of worship to anything other than Allah. And even this has some categories to it, because there's minor shirk and there's major shirk. Major shirk throws you outside of the religion, minor shirk doesn't. Nonetheless, what happens here is this. They use this as a springboard to make takfir, meaning rule Muslims as non-Muslims, on the entire Muslim ummah, the entire Muslim community. When they do this, they make their blood permissible, because the blood of a Muslim is impermissible to another Muslim. Now, I know that to the non-Muslims that sounds really harsh. They're like, what? My blood's permissible? But there are rulings in what makes a non-Muslim's blood permissible. And I talked about this in other videos. You can't just go to a non-Muslim country and start killing people. I talked about the treaty of peace between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. And you can't do it to them when they come to the Muslim countries. The same treaty of treaty applies there. It's only allowed in a jihad. And jihad has rules, and not anybody can just go out and say, I'm making jihad. There are very specific, very narrow rules allowing and disallowing jihad. So not anybody, including Daesh, can't just rule jihad. But what they do is they use this Tawheed al-Hakimiyya as a means, like I said, to make takfir, to rule all the Muslims, the entire Muslim ummah, as disbelievers. So what they do is, now they have ruled everyone except themselves as a non-Muslim. They've ruled that they're in a state of jihad, and therefore they are allowed to attack the non-Muslims, which means everyone but them is permissible to them. These guys are a death cult. You cannot relate them to Islam. They say they're Muslims, but what kind of Muslims? If they ruled the vast majority of the Muslims as non-Muslims, wait, what? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, what happens here is Western media, especially the right, which oddly I belong to in a weird way, not in the way that they throw Muslims and Islam in under the bus, but nonetheless, don't let's not go there. You confuse it all. It's like Milo being a gay conservative. You know, I might be a weird walking contradiction myself. So anyway, nonetheless, what's happening here is you find that Daesh and all these groups are actually in line with the right, who hates Islam. The right hates the general body of Muslims, and the Daesh terrorist IS guys, they hate the general body of Muslims too. They both interpret the Quran the same way. They say, oh, look, you can kill this one and that one. This is what the non-Muslims say. Oh, look, the Quran says like this, this. And they don't look at the details and the rulings from the Hadith, which give specific rulings on how these rules of when you fight and when you kill are implemented. And this is what IS does. They both read it in the same way. These guys are actually homies. And it makes sense because when we look groups like Al-Qaeda was established by CIA and, other stuff like this. And it's been shown in other videos that Daesh is funded and actually given material support by the U.S. government, sadly. Which I don't understand. Nonetheless, guys, you have to understand. I said this to Hun Orwellian. Yeah. It's a sad day. It's not a sad day. But it is sad that everyone, Muslim or non-Muslim, interested in Islam or not, needs to learn about Islam. It's basically opening the doorway to Islam to everyone and anyone. And unfortunately, people don't have the proper methodologies or understanding of how to interpret Islam. This is where Salafi Islam comes in. How do you interpret Islam? Your manhaj, your methodology of understanding how to implement the text of the book and the Sunnah. So, Anyway, that's my response. I tried to keep this quick and short as possible. These guys, they don't care about Islam. They don't care about Muslims. They are a death cult who want to kill people. They want to take their riches. These guys, they want the dunya. They want the worldly life. They don't want the hereafter. They're not interested in Islam and religion and whatever else. Yes, we have jihad in Islam. We do. We have rulings that kill people. The fornicator is killed. Yes, gay people are killed. Fine, you don't like it. Okay, fair enough. But there is so many specific rulings to this. Like, you can only do this in a Muslim country under a Muslim ruler. It's not for the average person to just go out. I can't go out in Germany and say, oh, he's gay. Grab him and take him up on a roof and throw him off or stone fornicators to death. It's not my place. This is not a Muslim country. And when I go to a Muslim country, I can't do that because there's a Muslim ruler and a Muslim law that has to rule that on that person. It's like, what do you call it? Right by trials, trial by jury. It's the same thing there. There's rule of law in Islam. You can't just do whatever you want as an individual. You can't. If you are not in a Muslim country, or if you are in a Muslim country, the Islam applies to you specifically in your house. And then you have the laws of the society, which are based off Sharia, which is everybody's so afraid of. Fear it as you wish, whatever else. Guys, don't confuse Daesh with Islam. Don't confuse Al-Qaeda with Islam. These guys are death cults. These guys, they hate everyone. They hate me more than they hate you as non-Muslims. Because I can refute their ideology with Islam. That makes me more dangerous than anyone else. Because they can say, oh, the non-Muslims, they just hate us because we're Muslims and look at how they're distorting religion. But when I can come with text and proofs and evidence from the book and from the Sunnah and from Hadith, oh, that makes me a danger and a threat to them. And that's why they target Muslims more than anybody else. Because they know we can refute them better than anyone else. And they hate us for it. They hate us more than they hate you. And that's why they kill more Muslims than non-Muslims. Anyway, this is your man, Abuamerican. Catch me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Any questions, comments, leave them in the bottom section. I'm out.